1932, passengers board a Pan Am Sikorsky S-40 flying boat. In those days, when airports were few, these giant amphibious aircraft could land on water, opening up the most exotic corners of the planet for travelers. Captain Kirk and Commander Spock have lunch on the set of Star Trek in the 60s. Off-screen, the irreconcilable opponents, a man of emotion and a cool-headed logician, turned into two friends, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, who are simply eating cake from paper plates. The Berlin U-Bahn, September 1945. After months of fierce fighting, the city lay in ruins, and subway trains ran right on the surface in bombed-out tunnels, becoming a symbol of the indomitable spirit of Berliners trying to return to normal life. This is Linda Carter in 1972, 3 years before she would don the Wonder Woman costume. Here she is, simply the winner of the Miss World USA beauty pageant, and no one yet suspects that this girl will become the main superheroine on American television. February 7th, 1964. Kennedy Airport, New York. Four lads from Liverpool waved to the crowd, not yet realizing that at this very moment, they ceased to be just a band and became a cultural phenomenon that launched the British invasion. The construction of the World Trade Center in New York, 1971. This view from the roof of a neighboring building shows the full scale of the project, which was meant to be a symbol of America's financial power, but 30 years later became a symbol of its vulnerability. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a ballet lesson in 1976. To improve his posing skills and add more grace to his movements, the Austrian oak took lessons from a professional ballerina, proving that even a mountain of muscle requires plasticity. Venice Beach in California, 1976, at the height of the roller skating boom. These short shorts, high socks, and Walkman headphones were an integral part of the Californian lifestyle that would soon take over the world. The assembly line at Henry Ford's factory, 1920. It was this revolutionary assembly system, where each worker performed one simple operation that made the automobile an affordable means of transportation for millions, rather than a luxury item. The Windows on the World restaurant, on the 107th floor of the World Trade Center, 1980s. It offered the best view of New York, and dinner at this place was a real event that, unfortunately, is forever in the past. Soviet actress Lydia Smirnova in the 50s. Despite her image as a simple Russian woman, she was one of the bravest and most independent actresses of her time, who was not afraid to speak the truth and go against the system. This is the future star of the series Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, left, with her mother and sister in the early 70s. In this family picture, it is still difficult to recognize the future queen of comedy and winner of 11 Emmy Awards, a young Angelina Jolie with her mother, actress Marceline Bertrand, in the 70s. It was from her mother, who had French, Dutch, and German roots, that Angelina inherited her exotic and memorable appearance. 1884. The Statue of Liberty rises above the rooftops of Paris before being dismantled and sent to America. In this picture, the gift from the French people has not yet become a symbol of the New World, but was simply the most unusual neighbor for the residents of this district, California. The 70s. Roller skating was not just a sport, but a whole subculture with its own style of clothing and way of life. This girl in floral shorts and sunglasses is the perfect embodiment of a carefree California summer. This is not Grace Kelly, but Hollywood star Kim Novak in the 50s. She was often called the new Marilyn Monroe, but she always went her own way, creating the image of a cold and mysterious blonde in Alfred Hitchcock's films. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the only U.S. president elected 4 times, led the country through the Great Depression and World War II. Most Americans never knew that this man with an iron will and a firm voice spent all that time in a wheelchair. This is Margarita Carmen Cancino, before Hollywood transformed her into Rita Hayworth. To become a star, she had to undergo a painful procedure to change her hairline and dye her hair red, proving that in the 40s, the path to the big screen lay through a complete change of identity. Anne Margaret and Elvis Presley on the set of the film Viva Las Vegas, 1964. Their on-screen chemistry was so strong that it grew into a torrid affair that seriously worried Elvis's fiancée Priscilla. This is actress Jean Tierney in the 40s. Her slight overbite drove the entire male audience of America crazy, until the film studio forced her to correct it, which everyone later regretted. Ruth Carroll Taylor, the first African-American flight attendant hired in 1958. Her career with the airline lasted only 6 months due to a ban on marriage, but she managed to break the racial barrier in one of the most prestigious professions of that time. This is not just a photo from the 50s, but a promotional poster for Janssen swimsuits. The company was one of the leaders in the swimwear market and actively promoted the image of a healthy and athletic American girl. The experimental Soviet steam locomotive number 6998, built in 1938. This giant in a futuristic streamlined body set a speed record for steam locomotives in the USSR in 1957, 175 kilometers per hour. President Franklin Roosevelt and the First Lady of China, Madame Chiang Kai-shek, in 1943. This visit was part of a major political game where Roosevelt sought to strengthen China's position as an important ally in the war against Japan. Linda Carter in the early 70s before she became Wonder Woman. Here she is, just a young and beautiful girl, but already with that same look that would soon make her a television star. This is not just Linda Carter, but a promotional photo for the television series Wonder Woman. This image of a strong and independent heroine became a symbol of 70s feminism and inspired a whole generation of girls. Walt Disney watches the construction of Sleeping Beauty's castle in his future park. 1954. The man who gave the world Mickey Mouse personally supervised every detail, turning his fairy tale dream into a reality of concrete and steel. Patrick Swayze on the set of the film Roadhouse in 1989. Next to him is kickboxing legend Benny Urquidez, who was not only the fight choreographer, but also Swayze's personal trainer, teaching him all the intricacies of hand-to-hand combat. Lindsay Wagner in 1974. 2 years later, she would play the role of the Bionic Woman in the series of the same name, which would make her one of the most popular actresses on American television. Actress Kathleen Turner in 1981, the year the film Body Heat was released, which instantly made her a star and a new Hollywood sex symbol. Her deep voice and femme fatale image became her trademark throughout the 80s. An inspector at a champagne winery, 1916. This wire mask is not a fashion accessory, but a means of protection against exploding bottles, which were a common occurrence in those days due to imperfect production technology. The assembly shop of the Douglas plant, 1943, where SBD Dauntless dive bombers are being built. It was these workhorses of American carrier-based aviation that played a decisive role in the Battle of Midway, changing the course of the war in the Pacific. Vivian Bales, one of the first female bikers in 1929 on her Harley. While most women of her generation dreamed of marriage, she rode thousands of miles across America alone, proving that the road and freedom are not just for men. This is Jim Henson in 1964 with the dog Rolf, one of his first characters. A few years before Sesame Street and The Muppet Show, he was already a true genius, capable of bringing any puppet to life and making it speak. The French airship Le Jaune against the backdrop of the Eiffel Tower. This picture is a reminder of the short but bright era of air travel, when these giant cigars in the sky seem to be the pinnacle of technical progress and the future of transport. Swedish actress Inger Nilsson, who played the role of Pippi Longstocking, during a visit to Amsterdam in 1972. Despite her worldwide fame, she remained a one-role actress, dedicating her life to working as an ordinary secretary. Marilyn Monroe a few months before her passing, 1962. Despite her dazzling smile, her eyes already show the fatigue and sadness that accompanied her throughout her life, full of fame and loneliness. This is the Titanic in the port of Southampton, before its first and last voyage in April 1912. At that moment, it seemed an unsinkable marvel of engineering, but just a few days later its name would become synonymous with the greatest tragedy. The Panama Canal in the final stages of construction, around 1912. These giant concrete walls and complex system of locks are the result of the titanic efforts of thousands of workers who forged a path between two oceans. Paul McCartney and George Harrison at the airport in New York during the Beatles' first visit to the USA in 1964. In Paul's hands is a magazine with Little Richard on the cover, one of his main idols, whose music inspired him to become who he became. This is not just Marceline Bertrand, but Angelina Jolie's mother in the late 70s. She gave up her own acting career to raise her children after her divorce, passing on to her daughter not only her striking looks, but also a strong, independent character. Actress Grace Kelly in 1953. Her aristocratic, cool beauty and impeccable style made her Alfred Hitchcock's muse and one of the main icons of Hollywood's golden age.